How are we feeling about this roster as compared to last year, and what major questions do you have going forward?
Oh man. Well, can we have a fair and balanced conversation about Kristaps Porzingis? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
because like I want to talk about, there's like a Twitter guy. There's like a kind of Twitter guy these days who is like, okay, what this kind of person is doing is like taking highlight videos of Porzingis from last year in Washington with the Wizards and acting like this is like the Rosetta Stone to understanding the entire career of this person. And I just want to like, okay, Kristaps Porzingis is a really good basketball player.
Okay.
He also is like...
Was it hard for you to admit that?
No, it's not hard for me to admit that at all.
Okay.
I don't think... I think what's going on is that when it's convenient, people want to look at the previous season and say that like improvement is linear. Whatever you did last season, you should be able to replicate that the subsequent season. But this guy has not been a good player for like most of the last 4 years. He had a really good year last year. And I think what's going on is that he's a player who everyone talks about how he misses a lot of time. Like he's injury prone. He misses games. I think the bigger concern is that when he's hurt and he does play, he's ineffective. And so not only are you missing some games, but like part of the reason that he wasn't as effective in Dallas as he was last year in Washington is that he wasn't healthy. And so what that affects is like, are all the things that the Celtics are ostensibly bringing him in to do. So they've talked a lot about like beating mismatches in the post. So scoring out of the post. He was great out of the post last year. I looked up, he shot 61% on post-ups last year. The previous 3 seasons, it's 46%, 50%, 42%. He's not like, this is not a player who has traditionally been a good post-up player. He had a really good year last year doing it. The rim protection. So like last year, opponents shot 53.5% within 6 feet of the hoop when he was the primary defender. The previous 2 seasons, it was up at 57%, which isn't good. So he was a good rim protector last year. He's still not nearly the rim protector he was early in his career. And for the previous 2 seasons, when Dallas brought him in to do that job on a team that had real ambitions, he struggled to do that. So this is not to say like, I don't even know what to predict for next year. Like if he's healthy, I think he'll be really good. I think there's good reasons to believe he could replicate some of what he did last year, but it's totally fair to wonder about whether last year was a fluke. And I think a good comparison point would be like a player like Julius Randle, who has made all NBA teams 2 of the last 3 years, but is sandwiched in between those 2 seasons is a season where he was terrible. And I think, a lot of players who aren't, like the top 10 players in the league are going to have years where they're better than other years, depending on how healthy they are or what system they're in. And so I don't know that like when it comes to Porzingis, I feel like I think the Celtics have a lot of eggs in that basket, especially with the 2 years they added on to his deal. I think they're paying him fair market rate. It's not the gamble I would choose to make if I was running a team. And I think I'd rather like run it back with Smart and Grant Williams, or if you're going to do that Smart trade, take all the assets that they could have got instead.
CLNS Media Network is powered by Fanduel Sportsbook. Visit fanduel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets when you bet on a Super Bowl winner. You can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season.
So do you believe they're worse?
So on paper, are we saying that Porzingis, like how many games are you giving Porzingis on paper?
Well, I mean,
if I give him 50 games, I think like 50 out of 80. If I give him 55 games, let's say he plays 2/3 of the games, I think they probably win right around the same number of games they won last year. I don't think they're meaningfully worse or better. I think they have like a more likely downside than they did last year. But I think, if everything goes right, they're just as good a team as they were.
I'm going to ask you to do what Celtics front office had to do when considering whether or not to make this trade.
Mm-hmm.
You put yourself inside, Brad Stevens' head, Mike Zarin's head, Austin Ainge's head, whoever else, and project. We don't know. We're not going to know until we actually see it, but we are projecting.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back on, he's bounced around a little bit, but let's forget New York. Let's forget Dallas. Just last year in Washington, specifically, let's say that was some sort of a turning point. He's entering his prime years age-wise, all that good stuff that people like to reflect upon. David Aldridge, who watched him very closely there, was on this show and talked about how, in his mind, Porzingis is your perfect third star, which obviously is what the Celtics are asking him to be. How do you believe he fits into this system and what the Celtics are going to want from him?
Yeah, I think so. What I think is that once it became clear that Derek White needed to play more, I think at some point last year it became clear Derek White was the best guard on this team. And once you acknowledge that, you have to acknowledge something we saw in the playoffs, which is that Derek White is not as good at Marcus Smart at guarding up. And so I think if you have more lineups with Derek White on the floor and a higher percentage of minutes with Derek White on the floor, you're sort of already conceding that you probably can't switch on defense quite as much as you were switching before, that it's going to make sense to play more standard coverages. So once you decide that, I think there's some reasons to try to get bigger. Porzingis is really good in the drop. In fact, it's probably the only defense he's comfortable playing. Like, he's not someone that's going to be out on the perimeter checking guys and staying with like water bug guards on the perimeter. You want him around the rim, and hopefully if he's healthy, when he's been healthy in his career, he's done a pretty good job protecting the rim. So I think in that sense, it's fair to, those two things go together. More Derek White, less switching. Porzingis makes sense in that scheme. I think all those pieces do kind of fit.
CLNS Media Network is powered by Fanduel Sportsbook. Visit fanduel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets when you bet on a Super Bowl winner. You can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season.